Father, thank you for Paul. Thank you for his willingness to get out there and to and bring you to the community and to be your servant, Father. And we're so pleased that he is here with us, that he is our minister at New Life. And we thank you, Father. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Would you be able to pull the curtain? I don't want you to lose any of the effect, you see. I know, ever thoughtful. What can I say? So, it says on there, Download 20. It was called Download 20 this year because it was the 20th anniversary of the Download Festival. And I thought I'd just take a few photos of what it looked like, and then I'll just say a little about it. So that was one of the days, not the best of photos, starts to give an idea of what the main stage looks like. It's one of the groups I wanted to see, a group called Disturbed. Their music certainly disturbed people. It was very loud. Just another couple of shots of, the idea of what... Because you've got 4 different stages there. This is what they call the main apex stage. Crowds are starting to get bigger. Oh. That's me. That's my oldest boy, Josh, on the left. As you can see, I've got 2 cartons of beer. That's only because I'd spoken to my youngest boy and said, I'm off to get a beer. And he said, get 2, Dad, it's really hot. Well, I took his advice because it was really hot. This is probably the group I most wanted to see. This is when Metallica have come on stage. Starting to get dark now, you get a bit more of the effect. Hopefully this will work. It's 8 minutes long. I'll spare you all of it. That was one of the quieter songs. And that's how their show ended on that first night. So pretty spectacular. They headlined for 2 nights. One of my favourite groups. But why be there? I don't want to leave you with the impression that all I did was listen to music and drink beer. As I appreciate those first slides may suggest that was the case. I know that for someone like me, and a few of the other chaplains, we were happy just to be there because we love the music. It's a festival that I would happily pay to go to. I mean, my oldest boy paid £350 to go there to camp for the entire time. Money well spent, I would suggest, But that isn't the reason why any of us were there for this festival. We were there because what other opportunity might any of us have to take Jesus to an event with so many people present? The organisers now know that 130,000 people were there. This slide gives a slightly better idea of what that started to look like. Where else could we go and do what Jesus commands us to do? Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Where could we go to do that on such a huge scale? It was an amazing chance to do that, both in what we said, the conversations we had, but also what we did. And as I was reflecting afterwards on the 4 days I was there, I also realised that it highlighted all that sits at the heart of Renew Wellbeing. Being prayerful, being present, being in partnership. We were there because the organisers invited us to be there. We were present amongst all the people who were there. And it was driven by prayer both before, during and after. So what did we do? This is me dressed up, ready to go, stood outside the chaplaincy tent. On day one, I spent 8 hours wandering around chatting to people, and also some time back at the tent talking to anyone who came to us there. That was the routine during the 4 days of the festival. And in that time, we've had some amazing encounters with people, whether that was out and about or back at the tent. Every day an email was sent out, which I'm sure some of you will have seen, which highlighted some of the significant conversations and encounters we had with people. That doesn't include the general conversations that we had with people about where to find the toilets, where the first aid tent was, where they could get water, what time the tattoo shop opened. And for me, the conversations I had with a lot of people about the music. I even had one lady declare that she loved me because I knew where the cigarette and vape stand was. I did get some surprised looks when I was bouncing along to the music while still wearing my chaplaincy jacket, but I just couldn't help it. But without exception, everyone we spoke to were amazed that we were there. Even other Christians who came along to chat. And even some of the chaplains who had never encountered the world of heavy metal realised that their preconceptions about the sort of people who like this music were totally wrong. Yeah, there was some outlandish clothing and things like that, but at the end of the day, they were just normal people with the same stuff going on in their lives that we all have. The chaplaincy tent became a place of refuge for anyone feeling low, too drunk, too hot, who just wanted a moment of peace. And I was really touched by one lady who came into the tent and asked if she could just use it as a safe place to cry, which of course she could, and she did. I just want to share some of the stories and some of the prayer requests that we had with you. Before the gates opened, the site manager, John, came to thank us once more for being there. He said that in previous 2 years, many people had appreciated our presence, particularly the young people, that we'd helped people and they knew that we would do it again. Later in the day, he reappeared and said, "I'm not having a good day." And we said, "Well, we'll pray that your day improves." The next day, he came along and he said, "Did you actually pray for me?" And of course, we said, "Yes, we did." And he said, "Well, your prayers worked because my day massively improved." And he said, to be honest, he said, "I realised that for next year, we need to give you a bigger tent." So that was amazing. Now, I didn't speak to this couple, but if I had, I would have gone down on my knees with them there and then in the field. They wanted prayer that the band AC/DC would headline Download next year, because that was to fulfill one of their dreams. Now, AC/DC are one of my favourite bands, and I'm with them in that prayer. Definitely, I shall be very happy if they're there. We met a young lady called Hannah. She was, in her own words, quite drunk, and she was quite accurate. She admitted that she had a drink problem, but also told us that she was struggling with a disability. She didn't go into that. And she said how she loved the history of religion, but couldn't make up her mind about seeking, as she thought that with all her problems, there was no way that God could love her. when I made it very clear that God did indeed love her. And I asked if we could pray for her, and also asked if she was happy for others to pray for her. And she absolutely loved the idea that anyone wanted to pray for her. And then on Sunday we bumped into a chap called Ian. Talking to him just to the side of the main stage, turned out he was an ordained Assemblies of God minister who in his words had become an atheist. He'd left the church behind because of how judgmental it had become. I won't go into details, but his life is in a mess. He's living in a very, very complicated situation. But he's on his own journey back to Jesus and simply wants to find a worshipping community where he won't be judged. Lots of issues, lots of questions, but he again was happy for us to lay hands on him and pray with him just while we stood to the side of the main stage. And then after we'd done that, I couldn't help but noticing he was wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt. So we also had a chat about them, and I shared how I'm seeing them at the Motor Point Arena. I would be seeing them in July. Actually, I'm seeing them tomorrow evening. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm sure you're disappointed you can't be there. Obviously, we were there because the organisers had invited us so. And so we needed to respect that invitation. We asked for permission to hold a communion service on the Sunday morning in the field behind our tent. And this was given, as you can see from that photo. It was an amazing time of worship and praise. And, quite a few people came. That photo doesn't really reflect it. And others just stopped and watched. They probably wondered what on earth was going on, but they still watched. Now, the service had nearly finished, and then two ladies approached, and I could see one of them was very emotional. I spoke to them, they called Julie and Vicky. They'd been working at Download all the weekend. They'd had a really difficult weekend. It had been hard going. They didn't go into detail, but one of them was certainly very upset. And they'd been on their way to leave to go home when they saw what we were doing. I took them into the tent. It was clear that they were believers. Shared communion with them, was able to pray with them that God would bring them a sense of peace and for a safe journey home. And Vicky then said to me how she just felt a huge weight had been lifted from her. And then just quite a comical one really, a chap had come into the tent on the first day and he says, "Does Jesus have any antihistamines?" The particular chaplain said, "Well, yes, actually he does." And out they came. Here you are. Very quick answer to prayer, I would suggest. But again, can I just say thank you to you all for releasing me to be part of this. Although, if I'm honest, I'm not sure I really asked. But I'm grateful that, you allow me to go and have supported that. I learned so much during my time there. In many ways, it was one of the purest forms of mission work I've ever been involved in. All we did was totally guided by the Spirit. No agenda, no script. Just a desire to engage with anyone who was there. And if that opportunity arose, to take Jesus to them. If you still have any of those prayer emails, then please continue to pray for the conversations we had. There is no doubt that lots of seeds will have been sown. We may never know where that leads to, but God will water them and God will grow them. Date for your diary. Download next year is the 14th to the 16th of June. I haven't asked, but I will be back. For me, it was an amazing and humbling to be part of the chaplaincy team and to see Download not just as a fantastic music festival, I appreciate that might be my opinion, but an incredible missional opportunity. We had 4 days where we could do just as Jesus asked us to do. We could take the gospel into the world, in this case the world of heavy metal, and I can't wait to be back. Thank you.